Question and answer. We're very lucky today to have Todd Stevenson with us with Total Tree Care. He's going to give some information on the trees and landscaping for us, and which is very, very good information. Todd? Okay. You got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. 3 minutes. That's it. I wasn't prepared. I thought everybody was going to ask questions first. How are you guys doing? Oh, fantastic. As I said, my name is Todd Stevenson. I'm a consulting arborist with Total Tree Care. It is my honor to appear before you guys. This is my second time. And I have to say that the experience this second time has been quite unique. I would really like to give your leadership some props there. Mickey and Jack boy, they had me cornered. They were like, Todd, it was so great. We really want you back again. I was like, really? Go, yeah, you know, Debbie talks about how much the people love the trees there. And it's like, really? And Janine says that the talk went so well last time. And it's like, wow. And I was just on cloud 9. And then I see now that there was a shift. I didn't see it then. I wasn't that smart. And they're like, well, you know, we are a nonprofit and we really don't have a lot of money for stuff like this. And it's, you know, it's really important that, you know, and I'm like, well, guys, you know, I have expenses. I'm a business. I've got to run, you know, and they put their heads together. And boy, after that meeting, I knew, you know, that was it. I was just going to have to settle for what's going on. So
You're not financed for this either.
Well,
Todd, thank you. That's enough.
Oh, I tell you for 2 reasons. One, I just really want you to know, you know, what kind of, you know, physical leadership that you've got here. And second reason I want you to know, if you guys are thirsty in the next few weeks, they're walking around with $500 of my money. All right, so we will move into some trees. A little bit about me. I am a consulting arborist. That is different than a practicing or production arborist in that we work a lot with individual trees, figuring out things, you know, what's the matter with it? Is insects, disease. We've had a lot of that kind of stuff running around. And we specialize in urban trees. And we do a lot of community outreach and stuff like this. So it's really neat, again, to be here. 30 years ago this year, golly, I can tell now where it's going. I was the first arborist in the Georgetown and Horry County market to open and operate a tree care company and do this type thing, which is pretty cool. Then about 8 or 10 years later, I became the third arborist in the state of South Carolina to earn membership into the American Society of Consulting Arborists. So those are our 2 big governing bodies, really. About 2 years after that, I became the first South Carolinian on record, I guess, to graduate their consulting academy. And that has just really led me to great people like you guys here. We met you all professionally about 3 years ago. The board at that time commissioned a study of your common area trees, of which you have plenty. Congratulations on all the trails and all the walkability and so much that's around. There was, you know, concern for the health of the trees, any liability issues and that type of thing. So that was 3 years ago. I think we performed that, and then your board and management took appropriate action when necessary. And some of that was you know, preservation of trees that were identified as high value. So there is, you know, a lot here to like and a lot here that is well worth taking care of and preserving. And the fact that you guys are sitting here looking at me, you know, shows how much that you guys care about all the different components. So the trees are a component. The city of Columbia did a tree inventory in the early 2000s, and that inventory logged the species and it logged the number, and it also logged the intrinsic value of the trees. They found that they had a $7 million asset that they just had no idea. So that's $7 million that they used for bond acquisition that they can leverage. They actually started their own tree care program for the city. They hired people. So there is a actuarial monetary value as well as the intrinsic and the aesthetic. So enough about me. Let's see if I can get this thing to roll here. There we go. So we're going to talk just a little bit, you know, about the benefits of trees. Here I am just talking to you straight up. I'm not a lot of things, but I am a tree care specialist. So as we go through, I'm going to tell you things that I believe to be true through science, peer-reviewed science. Arboriculture is a very well-studied field. There's tons of people doing it, more now than ever. So if I share something with you, unless I tell you differently, it is the preponderance of peer-reviewed science. I don't wake up and invent stuff. That's just not really where I can live. So when we have questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And when we talk about some of these benefits here, I am going to be a little bit kind of clinical in these because they are, whether we like it or not, benefits that you guys derive from what's going on. Now, it's very important that I not use scare tactics. This is very, very important to me that I've learned when we talk to groups of people. Nothing scary. We're not going to talk about what happens if the trees are there or anything. I just kind of like that thing. So when we talk about the benefits of trees, there are environmental and there are actuarial or monetary benefits. And then there are those that come back and forth. So one of the coolest things that was explained to me, and we'll talk more about this. There's a North Carolinian, a guy that was one of my mentors, Dr. McGraw. He was with the North Carolina Extension for many, many years. And he phrased it very well. He said, Todd, if you could fly over any community, sea trail, like a bird and look down, the more green space, the more tree canopy that you see, this is a one-to-one, the more that you see there, you guys are talking about the flock, the less crime there is. It is a one-to-one statistic across the country, probably in other places as well. More trees, less crime. More trees, cleaner water. Straight across the board. More trees, cleaner air. More trees, less depression amongst the people that live there. More trees, higher per square foot real estate value. More trees, less days on the market. It goes on and on and on. So city planners, people that work in government, if they come up in an educational format that prepares them for that, they know this. They know that's what's going on. So when we see cities enact tree preservation ordinances, it is that exact same principle. When you see HOAs have tree preservation ordinances, it is because of that, reality. The trees do provide those great benefits to you. A bunch of trees come down, so do all of those other things, property value and the different things like that we're talking about. When we talk about trees help us save energy, certainly in a great landscape design. I mean, I think we all know that's been down here for very long. Some trees on the west side of the house, pretty nice thing to have. August about 5:30, a little shade right there. It also reduces your electricity bill. It also reduces the tonnage of the electricity and the wear and tear on the HVAC. I don't know if anybody else getting surge prices lately. We're not liking that too much. So there are other benefits as well. It can help the roof last longer. It can help the air conditioners last longer, that type of thing. Stormwater runoff. This is a biggie where we live. If all the beauty and everything that we have here is in abundance, one thing that is not in abundance at all is topography. It's just not here. It's a low country for a reason. And stormwater is massively important. And trees do two things with stormwater. One, they impede it from hitting the stormwater management system. When you talk about stormwater, the worst thing that you can have is what they call the first flush. It's when the water instantly comes off the roofs, instantly comes off the pavement, the driveways, that type stuff, and it hits the stormwater management system quickly. It has a clogging effect. It can overwhelm it. It would be far better if it would just trickle in slowly and build up. But anybody that's been around a summer rainstorm here knows that's just not the case. When you have a large tree, up to a ½ inch of that water will stay in the tree before it hits the ground. So it actually holds that water from even hitting the ground. Then once it hits the ground, the roots can uptake it. The roots help hold the soil in place. It slows that groundwater as it moves. So the trees literally protect the ground stormwater system as the water wants to leach into it and rush into it. Also, from that same aspect, we're talking about water coming off of driveways, water coming off of roads. Really cool thing that they do, right? Water, if it can hit some trees as it comes through, can be cleaned. Trees have the ability to sequester things, heavy metals, things that are in antifreeze, things that are in oil, things that become, anything that can become water soluble that's toxic can be uptaken by the tree and remain there for the half-life of oftentimes of whatever that chemical may be before the tree comes down. It's still in there, right? The tree has to actually decay before that stuff goes back into the environment. So trees are very, very great at sequestering, and the longer they can stay there, the more of that stuff they can pick up. So it really provides, just again another thing there. We talked about the crime, the noise, all that type of stuff. So these are all benefits that everybody in this room and everybody in this community is deriving because your board actually takes the time and takes care of them. And of course, your city has a pretty good tree preservation ordinance too. Where I come in is where we come in. If we have a forest land that's been undisturbed, like that was where Georgetown County, the Burroughs and Chapin people, whatever, literally started logging because all those old pines were there. Well, right up until then, they really didn't have too many people besides native populations to deal with. And they didn't really need anything. Nobody fertilized. Nobody did pest control. Nobody really pruned anything. The closest they came with Indians were burning their ground brush. So when we talk about where trees and landscape meet, it's in the areas, I don't know whether you guys can see my pointer right here, but this is at Dover Plantation down in South Georgetown, and you can tell that there's gravel road there. You can tell there's grass. The tree's roots go out of this picture. A tree will have a root system double the distance of its furthest limb. So that poor tree basically has all of its roots covered in either gravel or grass. That's not native, and stresses and stuff like that occur. So that's where people like me and your tree professionals come in helping manage that interface. The more interface, the less root space, the more impact to the trees, the greater the need. So a tree on its own really is a lot smarter than we are. There's a picture there of the root system, if you could pick a tree up and turn it upside down, it would be much bigger, 2 to 3 times. So that's new construction. We were talking about that some. Here are some areas where we can see that the area has been improved. You can tell the dark stuff there being mulch. Mulch really simulates the forest floor. If we can get mulch in our environment, then we don't have the chemicals that go down on the turf going in there. We have organic matter being infused downward instead of the grass sucking everything up. So that is a really good application there of how to keep trees in the landscapes. Talking about the basics of tree care, if you guys are having it done around your house or when you have your professionals out here doing it, again, preserving the roots is paramount. When you see just how much more of them there are than the canopy. But we all think about pruning and cutting, and that's where it goes. But if we can switch that as we live in and around trees, we can really save a lot of money on the upper canopy care. Here's the reality that nobody wants to tell you. I can promise you, you can take this one to the bank. There is no health in a chainsaw. There is nothing created. The tree does not go, wow, I've been cut on and my tumor is gone and I feel so much better. The one thing that I've been taught never to align myself with is the tree surgeon aspect. It intones that by coming and cutting something, we're going to make it better. We cut to fix problems. We cut to fix problems. So there is no health. The health is all really below ground, and then when you run into problems, now when we got to fix stuff, this is talking about the mulching here a little bit. You can see, I've noticed that the landscapers here, I think Phoenix is your landscape, is that right? You're still using Phoenix? They're doing a good job of not doing this volcano mulching. This causes a lot of stress. This actually causes the chainsaws to need to come out. When we put this much mulch out here, the tree will start putting roots out in that area, and it will actually die off in the top. So now you've got some stuff that you've got to cut that wasn't good. We didn't want to cut that anyway. So again, taking good care of the root system can eliminate a lot of the cutting that we have to do later. There's a picture of how not to do it right there. That didn't come from y'all's neighborhood. We won't throw them under the bus. So this is something that's going to be on your website. Yes, this is going to be on your website. So you guys can refer back to this later. I know you've had a long day. I'll move through. So these are things that are just known to be bad for a tree. That's actually from the University of West Virginia. Lady Arborist did that. If you guys see things that are a matter with your tree, everybody, well, how do I know if my tree is sick? There actually are legal precedents about that, and it boils down to if it doesn't look right, or as my grandfather said, doesn't look right. If something is different, right, something is not normal. If we drive along and we see a bunch of dead limbs in the top of the tree, we know that's not the same as the others. You don't have to be an arborist to know. That's when you call us. So dead tops, that type of thing, and what we're seeing here is mushrooms in a tree. That's always something to be concerned with. I'm not a rapper, but it is an internal or external display of internal decay. I'm too white and old. Sorry, you're going to get. Yeah, never going to happen. You won't see me on stage with him. But these fruiting bodies that come out are evidence of the wood decaying fungi that's inside the trunk. So these things are coming out to breed, and they don't do it all the time. So that's something to be taken seriously. If you guys see that in your common area trees, please let the board or your staff know. This is something that you guys could do some citizen science with out there and help us out. Bugs, if you start seeing sawdust around your tree, that's a real problem. Or if you see sawdust around common area trees, we have not been in a really bad drought. There was, probably 20 years ago, a really bad drought in the upstate of South Carolina, western North Carolina. And a lot of trees died because they got so weak and stressed out that insects came and attacked them. Probably never going to see the insect. Let's face it, all we can see are the symptoms. That's going to be a sick tree, like we talked about, or that's going to be sawdust at the base. That's a very bad thing. Mushrooms, sawdust are not a tree's friend. All right, we're going to move into crepe myrtles. I'm going to do question and answer at the end. I'll try to move through, so if you guys have any, we can get to those. Who has crepe myrtles? Golly, it's one of my favorite trees. It really is. They're not so big, you know what I mean? You can put them. They bloom when it's too hot to even go outside. I mean, you can just look at them through the window. If they're blooming, you know it's too hot to go outside. It's kind of like what's the hurricane warning sign? Whoop, crepe myrtles. Nope, staying in bed. So we love them, man. We absolutely love them. And in human fashion, when we love things, we can care for them too much. And crepe myrtles get way too much love. I'm going to tell you right now. Way too much love. Yep, that's some love right there, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to explain this the way that a really smart person explained it to me. We are going to call that tree Fred. Okay, so there's Fred. Now we're going to compare Fred to a neighbor. Let's just pick the house across the street, whether it's the one that you have now or the one you grew up in, and there's a single retired guy there named Fred. You and Fred are really friendly. Fred's all by himself. You know Fred. Fred wakes up one day and he is absolutely broke. All of his pension is gone. All of his retirement is gone. All of his savings is gone. All of his retirement, everything. The man does not have a penny to his name. And you're the only one that knows this, because Fred is a proud man. Fred's not going to tell anybody, but he tells you. So you're going to hear the neighbors talking after that. Man, Fred, look at Fred. Fred's got 2 jobs. Fred must love to work. Fred's back at it. Fred's killing it. Look at him. He's picking up jobs on the weekend. He is doing everything he has to do to survive, and by surviving, he has got to regain his lost resources. Yes? Resources. Fred has no resources. The reason Fred has no resources, we'll see if we can go back over here, is because Fred has lost his photosynthetic capacity. How about that? He's lost his ability to foliate properly and to capture sun. The miracle of Mother Nature, right? You've got a leaf right here. There's my hand, leave it alone. The sun hits it. The miracle of Mother Nature. We can't do this, by the way. The sun hits this leaf, and through this miracle, solar energy is turned into chemical energy. It's in the form of a sugar. Photosynthate is the name. This tree has massive amounts of photosynthetic capacity. Fred does not. Fred has nothing. You see the little sprouts that are coming out there. So a tree that's healthy will manufacture those sugars that we talked about, those photosynthase, and it is in the form of a sugar, which is kind of unfortunate. We're going to find out later. So they'll use that sugar. When we fertilize the tree, they're not eating that fertilizer like chicken soup. They're using that fertilizer to photosynthesize better because it's got the nutrients and the things that they need in there. So when the leaves come out, they capture sun, solar energy into sugar. That's what they use to grow. That's what they use to defend themselves. That's what they use to heal all those wounds up there, anything else that's going on to defend from insects and stuff, resistance we call it. So when it's left, whatever's left, the tree through its own, it never went to school, it takes another molecule and puts it in that polymer chain, and bam, now it's a starch, a potato. It's no longer sugar cubes, it's a potato. And it stores those potatoes down in the root system, back to keeping the roots healthy, right? Fred here has nothing but potatoes to live on. So Fred is going to have to release an amino acid, he's going to have to cleave that extra molecule off, turn that stored potato back into a sugar, regrow everything that was there when it went to sleep, you know, and with dormant, it had a bunch, man. It was like looking, feeling good. Now it's waking up, it's got nothing. So it's got to regenerate all that stuff. The whole time it's stressed to the max. It's not defending itself from insects. It's not healing wounds. And also inside every cut right there, there's another deep wound there. So cut it back, it'll grow faster. I've heard that my whole life, right? How did I know it was wrong? I didn't know it was wrong until now. So now you know, and word to the wise there. Here is a real problem that is new, that nobody likes, and I just want to make everybody aware of it, because again, I saw the hands of crepe myrtle. There is a new, very, very bad player in our landscapes. Crepe myrtles originated in Korea. And Korea has every obligation to make sure there's no bugs on their crepe myrtles when they send them here. The same as South Carolina, if you buy something from a nursery, it should come with a certificate that there's no bugs on it. Somehow a bad shipment came, and it came into Texas. And the little white dots that you see on there are what came across. It's called a crepe myrtle bark scale. And this scale has a proboscis on it the size of a soda straw that goes into the trunk of the tree, and it's sucking out those sugars, right? Remember we're talking about the photosynthase, the sugars? It's sucking so much sugar out that its body cannot process it all. So, not to get too gross, but here we are. If we go have a bunch of pizza and beer, we're going to be doing some things within 12 to 24 hours afterwards, getting rid of all that stuff, right? There may be a little pizza and beer there still, I don't know. But when these bugs get done with this sugar, it is so unrefined that it's still sugar. So they're peeing and pooping the tree sugar all over the top of it. That's what's going down, folks. And here's the funny thing. The entomologists call that pee and poop honeydew. Smart people can have a sense of humor. I didn't know either. But anyway, yeah, so it's called honeydew. Upon that honeydew grows another fungi right in here that's black, that's called sooty mold. So the sooty mold is growing upon the honeydew. that is coming from the bugs that's coming out of the tree. None of this is good. So much honeydew from a tree that's infested will get spread around it that the shrubs underneath will turn black, the fence will turn black, the side of the house will turn black. It is an awful bad bug, and it's here. Every year I talk to the entomologist. I was the first arborist to identify it in Georgetown and Horry County. May have been the first one in Brunswick, but I didn't get credit for that one, so I'm just going to allege it. But anyway, it's so new, right? There's no natural predator for these things, so they're not going away. As a matter of fact, the entomologists, when I spoke to them last, are saying, still holding on to their initial assessment of 90% plus infestation rate throughout our landscapes within 5 years of finding it. And we're coming up on our 4th year in, and it's everywhere. So it's not going away. So as crepe myrtle owners, we've got, I guess, 3 choices, really. One, we can just willy-nilly, what if it happens, it happens. We can deal with it if we deal with it. It's very expensive to eradicate the chemicals that you need. The insecticides are not cheap once you get a heavy infestation. You can remove them and put in different trees. I know that sounds horrible, but the reality is that if we have a tree that has to have insecticide every year just to stay looking good, we do have a liability. There is that liability. It does exist. It has to be recognized. And then splitting the difference between that, so far so good. I'm going to knock on some wood here. You can engage in a prevention program, which involves getting the tree treated, getting it hot is what we call it, early in the year. And some of these chemicals will last through the growing season. So far, they haven't really developed resistance to them yet. We're really careful. When we do it professionally, we put a lot of the insecticide down because it's like taking a Z-Pack. What's the last thing the doctor tells us? Take them all. Yeah, so we don't want to get those. So this is a new dynamic phenomenon, event, whatever you want to call it, that has to do with the crepe myrtles. Now, I put this one up here to show you how much infestation there is around these prior topping points. This is a tree that was cut back. This is Fred years after. These bugs, according to the entomologist, that's where they want to lay their eggs, and all those cracks and fissures and stuff that are there. So the professional recommendation that you're getting, because I had to pay to come here, is if you've got a top tree in your yard, if it's topped, it's already really under stress. And if it gets the bugs in it, man, keeping it becomes sketchy after that. All right, so you guys have information. There's no doubt in my mind you'll do with it. This was the first infestation I found in Horry County. There's no smoke or mirrors with this bug. You know what I mean? Nobody's lying. If you see it, you can rest assured that that's what it is. You see how black the sooty mold and stuff is on there? It is, it's very saddening.
Is your recommendation that you've got this, that you should get rid of those trees?
That is one of the options. I would go so far as to say if your trees have, and I'm not saying yours, if the tree it looks like Fred and it looks like this, I think so. I think the cost of cure exceeds the cost of replacement. And if you put something else in, another ornamental, let's say, similar to a crepe myrtle, now you don't even have any prevention to worry about. So it is an option that lots of people are considering. And it's a case-by-case basis. I have clients that are like, Todd, I'm 80 years old, man. I love those things. I planted them. I like them. I'm not losing it. So come treat it every year and don't talk to me about it again. I have other people that are where you are. And I don't think anybody's wrong. I think it's an individual decision that has to be made. This is the sooty mold on the leaf. So hopefully we won't have to go through that whole thing again. But what is the importance of the leaf, right? You all know. Now there's sooty mold on top of it. Now that photosynthesis is being inhibited. So now we're going to move into palm trees. I neglected to cover palms on the last one here, and I was told that, and I was right. So this is a native palm. This is a sable palmetto palm, and it looks very much like the South Carolina state flag, right? all nice and full. Believe it or not, that is the preferred growth habit of the tree. There are, and I engaged in it, there are companies that will come in every year and really cut this thing back. Back in the day, we used to cut it back, it was called a hurricane cut, and it was just cut back to where there were just a few up here on the top. Then we started realizing that was kind of bad, and then we were doing the 9 and 3, where we came and we cut right along through there. The tree does not need any of those fronds removed. They're photosynthetic, right? They're the capacity to photosynthesize. But when these lower ones here start looking brown, people say, oh, I don't like that looking brown. It looks sick. I want to come cut it. So, it's not really a tree. It falls in a whole different category. It's actually closer to a grass. It's right in an orchid right there. But if you keep your palm trees full, they're going to be the most healthy because they're going to be photosynthesizing. If you want to cut the dead fronds off as they turn dead, fantastic. There is a fruit that gets on those. Anybody that's got them near their pool can tell you really well. The seed pods come out in late May, early June, and they start dropping. So we're not probably any of us in the palm tree farming business. So we don't want those seeds to emerge. And two, they're very sugary again, the insects, wasps, yellow jackets. So those should come off. But the tree itself is not going to benefit from being cutting. It's not more healthy once it's been cut. It's not less likely to blow over in a storm. It's just more likely to be stressed because it's missing some photosynthetic capacity there. So I will yield whatever time I have that Mickey wants to allow for questions.
Questions? Is this crepe myrtle, they're all over the place, obviously. Is this gonna be like the Dutch elm disease, that's gonna wipe everything out? Is that where we're going with this? I didn't hear too encouraging words that they could be treated.
It can be treated unlike the Dutch elm. Well, the Dutch elm can be treated. It's just not, it's been cost prohibitive. So there are people treating for Dutch elm and they're having success. It's just not on a wide scale. This is going to be the same thing. This is not killing the trees straight off like the Dutch elm disease is. This is a slow drag down. Mortality is something expected, but it can live for years with these things black and stuff all over it. But it is an event and it's not insignificant. I wouldn't put it quite with the Dutch elm or the EAB, the emerald ash borer, but it's up there. Yes, sir.
I'd say a good percentage of people cut the myrtle beet. I mean, the crepe myrtle, right? You recommend not cutting it?
I'll put it to you this way, because I told you at first, again, I'm not going to have my own opinion. I'll put it to you this way. You could walk into Panther Stadium with it being sold out. You could put $1 million at the center field, and you could give people 20 minutes, the first person in 20 minutes that could come down with peer-reviewed science as to why those crepe myrtles should be topped. You're leaving with your $1 million. There is not one study that says it should happen. So it's not like people are discussing it. There is legitimately no reason to do it scientifically. Some people do it because the tree was improperly planted. It's a 25-foot tree, 25 foot wide, 25 foot tall, 25 foot wide. So, when people plant it right next to the house, well, you got an issue there. But no, there is no health in a chainsaw. And yeah, when we're talking about Fred, if you walk up to somebody doing that, to one that's just sitting off in the woods, and you say, tell me exactly why you're doing that, give me a good reason, let me know if you find one, because they don't exist right now. Yes, sir. Yes, the question was mistletoe in the trees. Yes, mistletoe is a parasite. It's recommended that you cut it out. I'm not a huge fan of that if we can avoid it. There are products we and other companies, I'm sure, treat for mistletoe. It's something, but yes, it is a parasite that's very handy at Christmas. Yes, ma'am.
Is it advisable to bring in some compost and try to amend
soil to make it a little healthier for some of these trees?
Yeah, it's a great question for everybody that didn't hear. I'm going to jump right to soil compaction, but what she's noticing is around her trees, she's starting to see tree roots, correct me, coming up, and the ground seems hard. So here's the deal. The ground was either hard before or it became hard through the constant repetition of use. Mowers constantly on it, pets, pedestrian traffic. We compact soil. That's part of that urbanization we were talking about earlier. So then the question was, if we find that we're getting some erosion, right? The water's hitting, it's not percolating through the soil, it's running off, and every little droplet's bringing a grain of sand or soil with it, right? Can you come back in with compost and bring that back up to grade? The ultimate answer is yes. Compost is nature's elixir. It is a great thing. The preferred method is to fracture that soil somehow so that that compost can get down into it. You can break it. Aeration is what that would fall under. So yes, aeration, and then the next thing that would be called is top dressing, and you can do that with sand. People do it, but I prefer the compost as the best way to go. So yes, aeration and top dressing is an excellent means of dealing with not only the symptom of compacted soils, but the problems as well.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, Todd, thank you very much. We appreciate
honor.
you coming.